Porsche 911 as an SUV. This has been and is still the idea of the Porsche Cayenne Coupe. Here we have the new Coupe version for the new generation. You can see here this falling roofline. We'll soon take a detailed look at that, because the one that stands here is the Porsche Cayenne Turbo Coupe Electric. This is also the proper official order. Yes, I had a lot of practice for that, and we had to do a second and third take that I get that right. Always the question like where you put which naming. So this one here, then the all-new generation, electric. The combustion engine still runs parallel, and the new coupe form, and also the most powerful version, the turbo. And we have it here, for example, that you have these black intakes right there. This is special and for the turbo version, and we also then have as standard the HD matrix LED in this 4-dot design. And here in the front, I can either here press the button on the key fob to access the front, really good. Charging cable in here and a heavy box, but you can also put some other stuff in there. And the alternative to that would be, let's see and close it properly. And another functionality here, you can also just swipe here to open the front. So that would be the easiest solution. Yeah, different ways to open the front. And I can also soon show you that there are different ways to open and close the doors, because this one here is equipped, both available for the SUV and the coupe, with the electric doors. But now, first of all, the most important thing, the length is same at 499 in meters or 196 inches. However, here we have the coupe roofline, 2.4 centimeters lower actually than the SUV, and it's really pushed really low. You do lose some boot volume. We're going to take a look at that, and this gives this special SUV coupe look. It has an advantage that it has a CD value of only 0.23 instead 0.25 with the SUV. You have to look at the tires though always, for the CD value, because you can go with from 20 to 22 inch. This is here 22 inch. These are the largest ones. And then the logic is that 20 inch wheels also have the smallest tires. Then with 21, you're already going a little bit wider. And with the 22, you have basically two sizes. So these are not the widest wheels. These are the biggest wheels, but not the widest ones. And then there are special performance tires that also make them a little bit wider. In the data comment pin, there's a data comment, and also in the video description, we also have like an explanation then to this with all the tire width. So the best CD value then with the smallest tires as well. Do you think here the coupe looks more beautiful than the SUV? Then tell me in the comments. And technology, suspension, you get a rear axle steering, then the rear wheels turn in the opposite direction, the front wheels up to 5 degrees. Air suspension is standard and optional. Also the Porsche Active Ride is also equipped with this vehicle. So then you have like one hydraulic pump per wheel, and the car is always remaining upright even when you lean out into the corners, accelerate, brake and so on. It's a very unique driving experience we recently also had in the driving review of the Cayenne SUV electric. And then let's take a frontal look at the rear, because this is also unique. There we can see the light strip goes all the way through, and the Porsche lettering is also illuminated right there. A lot of high gloss black then as a contrast. Monteverde is this vehicle color, yeah, like the key fob, and yeah, it's like Green Mountain. It looks matte, but it's not matte. It's also not a unique color. It's a metallic color, but yeah, it looks like this a little bit. And here we have the aero blades special to the turbo, and they can actually come out then, for example, when you hit a launch control, and this is giving you more stabilization when you're really at very high speeds. And charging and battery, this is the first charging flap here, 11 or 22 kilowatt AC, 400 kilowatt DC charging peak, and we already did a test with the SUV and scored 10 to 80% in under 15 minutes. Extreme quick charging with this 800 volt technology. Can also charge at 400 volt stations, no problem as with that, for this 108 kilowatt hours net battery. A realistic, like real world range is, yeah, something a little bit less than 500 kilometers, a little bit less than 300 miles we had recently with the SUV. If you go 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour on the motorway. Here with the coupe is of course a little bit better as for the aerodynamics. Then again, it also massively depends on the wheel choice. So like most Cayenne customers say, like, I go for the visuals and I pick the largest wheels. But make no mistake, if you want to take my advice, Don't do this for the electric version. You will regret it. Yeah, it might look more striking. However, it's so important with the electric vehicles to reduce the resistance, then the rolling resistance and the wind resistance, and both accounts for the wheel choice. I would actually go for 20-inch wheels here with the aero wheels. And you will enjoy that more, this car, than when you can easily drive 50, 60 kilometers longer just because of the wheel choice. And cool choice here also by Porsche to make another charging port on the other side. Now the other one on the other side is closing, then this one is opening. And there's another AC port right there. So that's a cool choice that you're a little bit more flexible than in charging. And I asked them for that. If you go for the 22 kilowatt AC option, it both counts for this side and also for that side. And versions and prices, you start with the base version that is at 4.8 seconds in the acceleration figure. Then the S version is at 3.8 seconds in the acceleration figure. And here the turbo at 2.5 seconds 0 to 100 and 7.4 seconds 0 to 200 kilometers an hour. That's crazy stuff, and I honestly think it's too much. We tested it with the SUV. This car is, I almost have to say, it's dangerous because it's so quick in the acceleration. A human body cannot properly control that. We are not built to control these kind of acceleration speeds. I honestly mean that. If you go for the electric version because you want to max it out, please be careful. This car is more capable, is more striking in the performance than you could possibly imagine. It's really the case. That's why I honestly would go for the base version, take the fabric seats, save some money. It's already expensive enough, you know, and that's definitely quick enough. As for the pricing, the Coupe is 4,000 euros more expensive than the SUV. Means here 109,000 euros would it start in Germany as the Coupe, 139,000 for the S model, and 169,000 euros for the turbo here. But when you put some more extras inside, we had it with the SUV, that was at 216, so as it stands here right now, you can easily then score 220,000 euros, and that is too expensive. It's incredibly overpriced, and Porsche has to watch out with their pricing because not everyone is still willing to pay so much extra price than here, and especially if you go for the turbo version. And then you think about how big is the difference between driving a turbo and driving a base model. It's not a completely different car. That's why I would still keep with the base version. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea. Go base version, 20-inch wheels, aero wheels, and go for the Coupe. Then you have the best CD value, and they can easily add some 50, 60 kilometers of range in comparison to the worst spec as for aerodynamics. And we had it here with the SUV at 100 kilometers an hour, 62 miles an hour with the worst wheels. We could score some 23 kilowatt hours, 100 kilometers. So 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour. That would mean 470 kilometers of real world range, 300, yeah, a little bit less than 300 miles. But then in the best spec, you could be better than that, you know, than over 500 kilometers, over 300 miles. Gotta watch out though on the wheel configuration. So yeah, as I said, rather pick the smaller wheels, especially when it's electric. And you also think about when you go like 130 kilometers an hour, like 80 miles an hour on the motorway, the wind resistance, you know, is raising in a quadruple way. So the faster you drive, it's not linear how the wind resistance rises. So gotta bear that in mind. This one, as I said, is also equipped with the electric doors. You can get it for the SUV and also for the coupes, and thing that wasn't available at launch for the SUV yet, because some functions are available a little bit later. And then here, for example, you can pull the door handles, real door handles, I like that. And then there we go, with the optional insulation package, by the way. This way you can close it again. I can do it once here. This is also a nice clicking sound there. You also get here acoustic windows, your frameless doors, and then you get these acoustic windows for the front and for the rear together in one package. And there are so many different ways to open and close the doors. For example, when you sit on the inside, you can pull these here, the normal door handle from the inside, to open or close it. So this way you can also close it again. Is also possible. It will also work with the key fob. Let's see. Well, this is about the windows then. Also good to know, right? Especially because when you have the frameless doors here, coupe or convertible owners might know that when you have a very tight parking spot, you can do it like this, and then you can get in the car like this, and you could not do that when the windows are open, and then you can get like in and out when you have a very tight parking spot. It's a very helpful feature, we discovered it as well. And then there even, you can also open and close it manually. But when you have this option, probably want to do it electric. There are even more possibilities here. And it's crazy how many possibilities there are. So you can, for example, also here hit the brake pedal, then the driver door is also closing. That's possible. In the infotainment system, there's also a possibility. There we go, options, and then here I can hit one button in the infotainment system and everything is opening at once. Also spectacular feature when you're traveling with the group. And of course I can also close all doors at once. This looks pretty cool on camera, doesn't it? And there's, to me, probably the most spectacular option is, so when I open it, by the way, it's a good test when Leah is standing here. See here, and it stops. And only when the way is free, then they actually really open. So there we go. Probably the most functional automatic door system we have ever seen, because here, look at that now, the highlight of today's video. You can use the seat belt and then listen to the click. There we go. I did not hit the brake. This was really the seat belt, So I think the only thing that would be missing is when I open the seat belt again here, then it opens. But that will probably be confusing when parking and so on. So this is a pretty cool thing here with these electric doors. Of course, you don't have to use it. And this way, again, when someone is in the way, it's very spectacular. Honestly, I'm more a fan of the manual doors. And I think here it's also good that they went actually for the manual doors. They even have a good door closing sound even when the windows are down. And also, it's really, by the way, here when you hold it closed, then you can also raise the windows again. It is very rare that we have a vehicle that has frameless doors, but still has a good door closing sound, even in the rear. That is something you have to achieve at first. And then, since you have the electric doors, you also have the soft close here. So when you close it gently here, then you have this soft close, this so-called Zuziehhilfe in German. So the German lesson for today. Inside of the doors, we have also everything covered here in the top part. Here then also the big stretched Porsche lines and the open carbon fiber here. You can really feel that. Inside of doors, this is not covered with fabric. I would have wished for that. This was also equipped with the optional Burmester sound system. I would recommend it for music lovers because we have tested the normal Bose system here as well, and that was okay, but it's not like you have like, oh wow effect. But with the Burmester sound system, you get this oh wow effect. That's the thing. Then we have the steering wheel with real buttons, still left and right, turning jogs, and also the drive mode selection. When you hit this button here, you get more than 100 horsepower extra for 10 seconds. These are the sport seats. They are also standard for the turbo. The comfort seats would have a little bit less accentuation here, but it's not the biggest difference. And the sit bone area is also kind of similar. Exclusive here for the Coupe, you also get the lightweight package, which almost saves you 18 kilograms. And then you have this carbon fiber roof, and you get the Pepita sport seats. Actually, they are Pepita comfort seats because they are based on the comfort form. So Pepita comfort seats, it's just that you have this sporty retro fabric on the inside, and you also can get the race tech steering wheel, the microfiber on the steering wheel, and that would probably be my favorite package. So for the SUV, you can get a roof that actually opens, or you can get a closed roof. Here for the Coupe, you can get a fixed roof, a glass roof, like here, and a glass roof with PDLC, with like the electric shade, and the lightweight carbon fiber roof. I hope that's correct now, So a lot of choices as for the roof and seating position. You have actually good ergonomics, nice comfort. The Pepita seats, the fabric seats, would be a little bit softer also for the sit bone area because the animal leather is always a harder material. Sadly, they do not offer any leatherette choices. So if you want to go animal free, you have to go for the fabric seats. I would not have a problem with it. Some markets, especially like in North America or some Asian markets, they think that fabric is a cheaper material. It's actually not. So it's passively breathable and more comfortable. So I'm a big fan of fabric seats, but I understand if people also want like a leatherette choice as an alternative. Then steering wheel up and down, in and out. This is all electric. The digital instruments are curved in this way then, and also very clear to read as for the screen. However, you see, I like to have the steering wheel in that position, but that is blocking the instruments. If I would have free view to the instruments, I would put it like this, and then it's a very high position for the steering wheel, you know what I mean? And that's more when you're tall, because when you're not as tall as me, you would probably move up with the seat, and then you can also adjust the steering wheel position a little bit. So for tall people, they are really blocked here in the front. However, I have a large head-up display. That's this huge box inside, and the display of the head-up display is really very large. And let's check out how the Coupe here transfers to the headroom. Actually, that's a good idea, because I can open the door for Leah. So yeah, let's just open all of them. That's the easy solution. There we go. So it's also a nice gentleman's function, so to speak. And now, I don't know, how should I close the driver's door? Should I reach out for the door handle? Should I press the brake? Or should I just close the seat belt? It would be cool if we have like a live voting feature in the video, right? Which one should I use? Or should I use it in the screen? Maybe the seat belt again, right? Because that's the most spectacular feature. Yeah. And now,
only one door, yeah.
And now people, you know that some, when they want to ease around in their like own yard, if you have something like that, some go to the scrap yard and buy here these individual, like just like the clickers here, that they can actually park the car without having the seatbelt on and this beep beep beep. So maybe people will go to the scrap yard and just have this like separately, that you can always like click it into or close the door. Yeah, just an idea, Then here, this new cockpit of the Cayenne electric. This is a passenger screen. If you would have the base equipment, this would be only a black panel. Not ideal maybe. Passenger screen is also not used by everyone. It really depends. And then you have this curved screen in the middle. On the one hand, it's a good idea because you can see on the top here everything. And in the lower part, you can still control things. This is the original idea. And from menu to menu, this works actually quite well. And it's quick. It's also great in the visualization. However, I do have sometimes a problem with it when I'm, for example, like here, when you scroll in the map, it kind of looks a little bit weird to the eye. You have to get used to it. And like the most crucial thing is when you have something that you can really scroll here, a list, and you look in the middle part, you think like, oh, do I need to see the eye doctor? So I think then I would advise only to look at the top or the bottom part, because when you look in this curved area, you feel like, whoa, sorry, you know. And I think like the base idea from the ergonomics is, I think, very interesting, because you can also rest your hand here, control something in the lower part, look at the upper part. At the same time, you can access here the physical vent and here also the physical temperature unit, which is beautiful, you know, metal knurling here, also metal knurling for the volume jog here, for example. So this is really, really cool, good quality. Seat cooling, seat heating is then here in the screen, but easily reachable. I think it would have worked better if they made it a little bit less curved, because a little curve in the monitors, also when we know it from like screens at home, which are curved like this, which a little bit makes more sense, because we see more in the width than we see up and down, just from our natural eye, how it's designed, you know. I think if the curve would have been a little bit less, you probably wouldn't get this effect that you see like, oh, I don't want to look at the exact curve area. So yeah, this is my extensive feedback after having it used for a while as well. Then here, this one is equipped with the glass roof and also the PDLC technology. So you can make it matte or clear vision through. This heat protection is always in. Also, if you do not have the PDLC function, you also have the included heat protection. A fixed roof will still keep the heat out a little bit more. Yeah, I think lightweight package with the Pepita seats is probably then the coolest thing you can do for this vehicle. Headroom, it's no problem, you know, 189, 602, no problem at all. And even the windscreen is supposed to be already different here in the Coupe if you compare it to the SUV. And then everything from the A-pillar onwards, chassis-wise and top, is also different. So more different than you might expect. Analog clock here in the top as well. This is also a special Porsche design analog clock than here, for example, on the top there. And what I also appreciate, that you can really easily control the drive modes here, for example, directly the steering wheel. So you don't have to do that in the infotainment system. It just changes in the infotainment system. Actually, grab handles here also. That's nice. And a nice inside ceiling as well. And you can, by the way, also get these dual sun blinds. So this is a normal one, can also not be extended, but there is also a dual one available. We saw that when we were driving the SUV, for example. And then you have this extended middle console, but I think we need some light for that. And now it's middle console time. By the way, this will also be heated if you have this, seat heating together with the function that it heats up the like this part and also the outside part here of the doors. The only thing is when I'm driving here, my elbow is here at this hard part. It's not well planned as for the driver's perspective. And also the inside of the door here, this elbow pad. It's covered, but there's no dampening underneath, so it's really hard. So obviously they thought of, no one's gonna drive this car in a lazy way, like Thomas sometimes does, like this here. If you want to drive a Porsche Cayenne electric, then you have to lift your elbows high and... Oh, wait a minute, that's what's the combustion engine. Yeah, for the electric. Okay, but maybe note to the engineers, maybe build some extra elbow pads here for lazy Thomas drivers. Then to the middle console, because this is an own field. Here, open this, open that. And then you have this access here, inductive charging pad with magnetic holder, 2 USB-C chargers, 2 USB-C chargers more. And this is the lower position for the cup holders. You can also put it here, turn it around, tap, tap, turn around. And then here, make it in the higher status. There we go. So this is a little bit higher, easier access to the bottles. If you have not too tall bottles and you put it in a lower position, then you can also close this whole thing again. And some have criticized this middle console a lot, and I can understand it because it's unusual. And if you close the things, it's maybe then too complicated to always open it again. Yet again, for everyone who wants to have it clean while driving, it's possible. What I like best with this solution is this fabric holder here. And the thing is that you can put bottles in it, but you can also put like sunglasses, like the cases in it, and it doesn't wobble around, and you don't have like this all the time because it's a soft fabric. And this is actually a great idea. So definitely has pros and cons, this solution. There we go. And then you can also properly close it again like this. So now the big question is, what about the rear here actually? Now the rear seats, very exciting. First over here, rear doors. We also have this insulation package, but it's an option with the lamination. And also, what's pretty cool, like that feature, we have to, there we go. Then we have the electric shade here in the rear. Always really like that feature. Then also covered here in the back part, only hardback in the lower part. And here the coupe rear seats. You can electrically control the inclination right here. So this is actually possible. However, you cannot slide this bench forward and backward, which would be possible in the SUV. And the first crucial thing is actually that the rear legroom is on paper the same when the SUV bench is back and this one here on paper. Why does it still, here my knees are closer to the seat a little bit than it would be in the SUV. And why is that? It's because the lower seating area here is lent a little bit more backwards like this, and in SUV it would be like this. That means in the SUV I sit, let's say, a little bit like this. This is a good practice, right? For the good muscle training. And you look at my knees now. When I go down, the knees go a little bit forward, So although this distance here is the same, then the distance from the knees is, this is totally science, right? Yeah, it's like, oh my God, like revelation of the century. Very interesting, right? So, but they want to put this a little bit lower in the back part, that you can still have some headroom. Well, here, when I lean really backward and I hit the ceiling, but when you lean like a little bit forward, then it's okay. And then, there's still some headroom, but you lose headroom a little bit. You effectively lose legroom as for the knees, at least if you have long legs, So, that's the thing. And then you can either have this one here. This is like the 2-seater in the rear. So that's just a cubby hole, and you cannot really sit there. Maybe it looks that it could be used like for a very small child, as
potty training.
Yeah, potty. But you could also get that you have like a third seating possibility here. That would also be possible. Either way, in both cases, you have like this sport seat accentuation also for the rear seats. That's actually pretty fancy. And then the normal armrest here. This is also softer, and then with some cup holders here. They're not adaptive though. And here you have this typical new Cayenne electric loud closing mechanism with the metal hinge right there. You can also fold the seats here, but this is just really for the release. You cannot like adjust it there because you have the electric adjustment here. Then you can change the inclination. And the Cayenne SUV has the cargo position that you do it like this and also fold the bench forward. Here it's only cargo position like this, and that's also another reason why the liter figures differ so much in the cargo position. But we take a look at the trunk now extensively. Look at that. This is here when the rear wing, the adaptive spoiler is up. This is really massive and of course larger than with the SUV because you have this, need more stability than at higher speeds. And here we can take a look at the trunk or the boot, and which is at 490 liters in the base setting, and the SUV would be at 550 liters. So in the base setting, you don't lose too much liters. However, when you are in the cargo position, since the SUV can also slide the bench forward, there the difference then is larger. And here this one still fits in vertically underneath. This cover here is like this, let's say adaptive cover that rolls out together. You can also, it's an interesting sound, right? And here you have a width of about 1 meter or 40 inches, and the length here is also about 1 meter 40 inches, and the total height here is actually quite fine. It's like 28 inches, 70 centimeters. This is not the main difference. The main difference is really here that you lose the height right there, and you don't have the electric folding, but first of all here, cargo position here. Like this is the only cargo position there, and the SUV then could slide this even forward. And then you don't have an electric folding like in the SUV, but the manual folding like this, but it's also fine, so that's okay. And here the total length then is at 1 meter 85, 73 inches. That's of course the same then, since they also share the same wheelbase, which is not always the case, because in the Mercedes GLE, the Coupe has a little bit shorter wheelbase, strangely. I wonder that they can afford that, producing that. By the way, there's no step here. This is like an additional boot mat. So when you take this out, then you can see that there's not a big step then here. And there's a nice high floor mat here for the trunk. So it's pro and con. Some disadvantages in the trunk and also in the rear seats. But then again, aerodynamic advantages. You can go back and forth about the pros and cons here of the Coupe. At the end of the day, people will probably decide more about the design, if you like this Coupe design more. Gotta say that really in the electric sense, especially when you drive it a little bit faster, then the aerodynamics play even more a role. So will be even more exciting if you will actually go for the SUV or for the Coupe. Which one you like better? Tell me in the comments, so you can then now check out the driving review of the SUV we did recently, Turbo and Base.